We watched
On Billy Borderlands.
No, Mason.
Oh.
That was earlier.
Yeah, it was actually.
We watched 8 episodes of a television series this week.
Sure did. 8 hours of our precious lives.
It is. It's true. At least it came out on like Thursday or whatever.
That's true,
So you can break it up a little
Sometimes
bit.
it's like Saturday.
That's
We have
right.
to record Saturday night.
Yes, we do. This time around, it's another adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. There was the first adaptation, and there was probably a video game. Then there was a movie. We covered it for Caravan of Garbage, and that was cool.
Years ago. We recorded that years ago.
We did record it years ago. Were you surprised by all of the insights that you had?
No, I didn't watch it.
Oh, well. But do you think you would be surprised if you watched it? You'd be surprised that you were watching
I
it.
reckon if I watched it, I could probably predict what jokes I was going to attempt.
Oh, because you're so
throughout
far
it.
beyond that now, are you?
No,
You know
it's
yourself
just
so
no,
well.
it's just only.
Your comedy has evolved. That you're basically like...
You know what? Yes, I was going to disagree.
You're Minority Reporting your own jokes.
That's exactly right.
A big wooden ball
That's
rolls
right.
down and it says something dumb that you'd say.
Yeah, that's right. What if he farted? What if he fell over and he farted?
A big wind came out of his
Oh,
bum.
that's what I call a bloody airbender.
That's great. I'm not going to believe this.
Go on.
This cost $15 million an episode.
15 million.
Yes.
Okay.
What do you think the story was?
Oh, come on, mate.
Just get into it, all right?
All right. Okay. So there's four nations and
Yep.
they live in harmony. And
They're the
each-
Captain Planet powers
Except
of
for heart,
nations.
but
Except
not
for
heart.
No, they've all got heart. Most of the characters have heart, Mason, I think you'll find. That's actually the thing that carries a lot of these characters through.
Disagree.
Like, they get through by the way that they rely on each other.
No,
Some
it's-
people are like, you got to work by yourself. You're the Avatar. You got to do a big flying kick and kick the head of the guy, kick him right in the head, kick his head off. And he's like, I just want to be with my friends. No. Do a big fire kick his fucking head in.
Okay. Anyway, that happened.
Yep.
Anyway, the four nations, and they got the Captain Planet powers, and they live in harmony because of the Avatar. The Avatar's he's got all the powers.
Yeah.
They've only got one power.
He's
each,
a
but
bloke this time.
But he's got all the powers, and he's like, "Hey, you kids, stop it!" And when the Avatar dies, another Avatar is born, but this time it's Aang, and he's told he's the Avatar, and he's like, "But I don't want to be the Avatar. I just want to hang out with my friends."
Yep.
Well, you've got to do a big flying kick, Aang. Well, I don't want to. I want to be with my friends.
I want to freeze for 100 years.
I mean, you haven't seen any of my friends. They're not really around.
No.
My friend's this old bloke.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. It's just this old bloke.
Yes, this is old bloke.
Old bloke who's also my trainer and sort of like my dad.
Yeah.
My best friend's my dad.
And he lives in the spirit realm at some point.
Yeah,
That'll
yeah.
be later.
Yeah. But anyway, there's a meteor shows up, and the meteor...
Hello.
The comet shows up, and that means that the fire tribe, they've got the most powers right now. So they do a big battle, and they
do a big fire kick.
They do a big fire kick, and they show up and they blow up the air tribe. But Aang, he's the Avatar, but he
left.
He left, but he freezes himself with his water powers
by accident, I think.
By accident, and then the
100 years happen.
100 years pass, and the fire tribe they take over the whole world.
Yep.
Sort of, mostly. But then Aang, he busts out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, what the bloody hell's going on here? Bloody hell's going on here, you bloody kids.
Who did this?
Yeah. You did it, Aang. Because you weren't around, you dog.
He would have died anyway.
Yeah, he would have. He's bad at it.
Yeah. And he was a boy.
He was a boy also, yeah.
Yeah.
But then that's what happened. And he's got to train in all the powers, and he's got to stop the bad guys.
Yeah.
But he's got a couple of friends.
He's got mates.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
For the first time. It only took him 100 years.
No, he had that old bloke.
Oh, yeah.
Now, first off,
yes.
I just want to say.
Go on.
And I've seen this suggested.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who thinks this is like worse than the Shyamalan version, you've lost your mind.
I understand.
That is just, you cannot. I mean, if you really hated it, I guess you could say, well, it's longer. It's a longer version of the Shyamalan thing. But that felt like I didn't feel like this dragged in the way that dragged.
I kind of felt it dragged, but I didn't.
It's also...
I don't remember watching the first episode of this, I'm like, I remember elements of this.
Yeah.
Small bits from...
Because you did watch it 4 years ago.
But I'm like, I do remember when he got frozen.
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
Should have watched the video. Nah. You're in it.
Nah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I look, I was expecting the worst.
Yes.
And I thought it was okay.
I think some of this is the worst.
Okay.
Here's one thing I'll say. I think I have reached stagecraft saturation. I think everything is made on the volume now.
Yeah, well, this was.
And you can some of the time you can really tell because
it
it's
hurts
just
it, yeah.
it's the same thing we saw with Ahsoka, which is just three people standing shoulder width apart, just standing next to each other, and they're like, "That'll do."
It's the mountains.
Just a sort of medium shot of that.
Yeah.
And look, you're in the Arctic. Am I?
There's moments where like they're on the back of the flying bison and they're just chatting like they're inside a car.
Yeah.
Like there's no wind whipping. Yeah. They're just like, oh, hello. They're not like yelling over the wind.
And I think it's at a certain point, look, what I tried to do was I tried to be like, well, it's a magical world, isn't it? It's a magical, surreal world.
Yes.
And it's not always going to feel like the world. But it's so much of this, I'm like, oh boy, this does not look like it's taking place anywhere.
Yeah. And I would say also some of this actually looks great.
Some of it looks, you know what, I think the sky bison looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Which is why you see it like twice in maybe once or twice an episode, and sometimes not at all because it's so expensive to do it and make it look good. Like there's when you see the first reveal of it, like he lands in the snow and he shakes off all the snow, whatever, and then Aang goes up and hugs him, and I'm like, this is going to look bad.
They don't do that again though, do they?
No, but they look, and I think that's probably because they just built a big furry wall,
sure,
and had him hug it, and then they integrate it. But I think that effect is actually pretty good. But again, and the little monkey man, that's rarely in it.
They really take and this was similar for the movie, but less so. They take a lot of the personality out of those characters because they are expensive to implement. You know, they're not real creatures.
Yeah,
which is interesting. It's an interesting approach.
Well, they could have put a furry jacket on a pig, and filmed it really close. You know, I don't think it'd look about the same. I think it'd look about the same.
Have you seen it's like he does a sketch comedy? Tim, I think you should leave.
Oh, yes.
Where the pig comes through the door and it's got a Richard Nixon mask. Yeah. And it just reminded me of that.
That's good.
It's a fun show that I haven't actually watched. I've just watched multiple clips of.
Yeah.
I think there's things that they've moved around which they didn't need to. They show the Fire Nation massacre up top.
Which you don't like.
And you find out, like, something happened. I can't even remember specifically because I watched this whole show like 4 years ago.
So you've seen the movie and you've seen the animated series. Yeah. So you'd be better qualified to talk about the differences.
I mean, it's been a while. Yeah. So, and I had a kid in between.
Oh, so that's true.
Cut me some slack here.
Yeah.
But
so, I mean, you know, a bunch of kids being massacred in your mind is often blending with you wanting to massacre a kid.
And Anakin doing it.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite child massacre. Yeah, but I felt like...
You don't need to see it?
Well, I think you could see it later.
Right.
But because I think there are some like exciting action moments in it.
Yeah,
but you don't know...
In the dark.
But you don't know...
Because it's easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really know anybody at that point except for that one bald guy. That's true, so it doesn't
really...
So you don't like... So I feel like it doesn't as much trust the audience for the world to unfold in the way that the animated show does.
Right.
Like it kind of starts quite slow and like the pace is kind of like it's gentle and it eases you into it and then it expands out and it's like you learn about different tribes and cultures and you get a sense of the world and different creatures and people and whatever. Where this is like, hi Yang, you're great. I think you're my best mate and also these are the previous avatars and you're the latest avatar. You're the most important person in the world. I hope you learn a lesson about friendship. Don't run away.
That's right.
And then he runs away, which is also they took. I saw somebody worded this better than I did, and I don't know who. So I apologize.
You don't know yet, James.
No,
you might word it better than them.
Yeah, here we go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Aang in the cartoon, he's got this sense. He's got a wanderlust.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Where he's not strictly like looking to unite anybody. Like it's something that he knows he has to do.
Is there more side adventures?
Yeah,
in the
there is,
cartoon?
and kind of he's
the anime.
Yeah,
wink.
He's reluctant and also he's a child, so he wants to have little adventures and like explore different villages and meet different people, which ends up like aiding him in his journey because he learns things. He is actually learning from just existing in the world and getting to know it, like people.
Well, one thing I did notice in this,
and he doesn't have that here.
Yeah, well, one thing I did notice in this that I think sort of is in the same vein is that a lot of the characters, which I assume in the cartoon are always supposed to be hanging out. Yeah, there's like this mid period of like episodes 3 and 4 and
mid.
5.
You're like mid. Is that what you said?
Where they're just not. They're all on separate adventures. So when it gets to like the last couple of episodes, it's like they're a team, and I'm like, how much working together have you done though?
Yeah,
really. You and Kitara and soccer.
Yep.
Sorry, football.
Yeah.
We've got an international audience.
European football.
European Association football.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like also they like some people I don't think anybody is bad in this.
Yeah.
I think these characters and some people go over the top in a way which I like, which I'll get to. And some people are given dialogue that doesn't necessarily help the character or even scenarios. Like, I think Gordon Cormier as Aang, I think he is good.
I think he's good.
I think he's compelling and he's great at the action sequences. Like,
he's quite young, though.
He's young.
Is this his first role, or is it like...
Probably, or like close to.
I feel...
But they don't give him that, like... He's a child, and you can see he's a child, but they don't lean into that enough, I feel.
Right,
like, he's a child. He could do it.
Yeah.
If you gave him the opportunity, because he also... In the show, like, he is stoic and he does make hard decisions, and you see that here, and I think he's doing a good job there. But with like Katara and European football, they take away a lot of the things that they do in the animated stuff. So soccer learns like to not do big sexism.
I that's one thing I knew, I was aware of, that they took out. They took out his arc where he's like, I don't think women can be warriors, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but also,
and it's also because he's insecure because he's sister has amazing magical powers and he doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
But also, don't we learn later that the head of his tribe is like, well, I don't think women can be warriors. And then...
in the show later. Yeah, in these episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a different tribe area, yes.
So, like... That is, it's interesting.
They do the sexism, but later.
Well, I was going to say it's interesting that is a lesson that is to be learned by.
Yeah.
I assume the kids who are watching this and the kids who are watching the cartoon. But I think it's always interesting to me when they're like, well, we can't have a character be slightly bad and then learn.
Yeah,
we can't have that. So let's have this character that we don't care about be sexist.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we can't I hate the idea of like we have like the golden boy.
Yeah.
No, they don't have any flaws, and there's no way you can't. It's not interesting.
No,
you know what I mean.
He's also not.
I think that guy's kind of fun in how dumb he is.
Well, he is, and he's way dumber and way funner in the show,
right?
In the animated, because he's given so much of that. Like, he's a very endearing character because he's a fucking goofball,
right?
And he is sexist. So the storyline that he normally has,
which is why you like him so much.
Yeah, that's why I liked him so much until he learnt a lesson. Then I'm like, I can't relate to this guy at all, actually. So he meets the Kyoshi warriors, and he's like, this is ridiculous, like, the female, like, warriors. I'm a real warrior. I'm looking after my tribe or whatever.
I've got a stick.
Yeah, he gets humbled, and he ends up dressing like them because he wants to learn their ways. And by doing that, we're like, well, if you're going to do this, then you do all the things that we go through.
Right.
Whereas here, he just learns the thing.
Sure.
He just learns it, and he goes, this is pretty good. Can I do this? And she's like, yeah, all right. You can do that, I reckon.
Yeah, sure.
So I think that's like, yeah, you're doing
it's
the
$15
character.
$15 a lesson.
Yeah.
You got to pay for 10 up front, though.
Yeah. You'll sign this waiver because I will break your ankle. I feel like you're not giving the character like enough to do, or like the audience enough credit that they can go, like you said, he learned a lesson.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure, right.
I think they were really like, I think maybe there would have been like, can we put someone in a dress? What kind of feedback we're going to get from this?
Oh, yeah, right.
What does that mean? Who's going to be upset by this or whatever? I think they probably just went, let's just not.
Sure, okay.
Which is the worst decision you could make.
Yeah,
for this.
Yeah. I think the actor who plays Aang, I think he's good.
I liked his shaved head.
I did too. I mean, I think you can, like, it's a fine line, but I think you can tell he's really acting in a lot of points.
Sure.
I mean, he is acting.
Yeah, he's an actor.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know, but I mean, that's just because he's young and this is his...
Yeah, and he'll, like, if this gets a season 2, and I'd say it probably would, like, we'll watch these people get better. Yeah, I also think, like, Katara is not given enough to do until, like, the later episodes.
Yeah.
You know, like, her relationship with Aang, like, you see that unfold and they learn off each other because they both don't know waterbending that well.
That's true.
And so they're kind of, I don't know, I've probably got the timeline of this all messed up. But one thing I think they did nail, and because it's just what happened in the animated.
Nice.
Paul Sang Huang Lee, who plays the uncle.
Yes.
The uncle bad guy, but is he really a bad guy? And Dallas James Liu, who plays Zuko. Danny Zuko. All of that, amazing. But also, they're very good in these roles. But also, it's just exactly pretty much how they did in the animated.
Okay, yeah.
Which, to me, is like, you're changing some things and not others. But what's the point of this?
Sure.
Because I feel like with like the Last of Us animated Last of Us
TV
adaptation, like it's different.
Yes.
But you're like, oh, I see where you did that. Whereas this, I'm kind of like, well, you nailed just doing the exact thing.
Why not do it frame by frame?
Well, yeah, that and like, what are you adding to it then?
Well, yeah.
Like, it's not enough, I think, to just be live action. And look, my son, I was probably 2 or 3 episodes in. And I'm like, look, I need to watch this. Do you want to watch an episode with me? And he loved it. He was like, and he jumped in the middle. He's like, this is incredible. And so I just went, listen, we'll watch one, and then you just watch the animated thing. Because all the concepts from here I think are so strong. And it's all there. It's already 4 seasons and it's
done, yeah.
And it's done. So yeah. The bending's pretty good in this though. It's better than the M. Night version.
Looks pretty good, yeah.
That guy, the guy who plays Zuko, some of the kicks he's doing, like that guy, he's moving. He's moving, Mason.
He's moving all right.
But that relationship between them two and like how he lost his son and all of that and the way that that's explored, like it's really heartbreaking.
I like my favorite character development was when, you know, the Katara is holding a lot of trauma because her mother was burned to death in front of her.
Yeah.
And Sokka's character development is his dad thought he sucked.
Yeah.
Just about equal levels
he
of
nearly
burden,
crashed that boat.
Yeah, but equal levels of burden there.
I agree.
I think that was cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of parallel lives, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. God. Yeah. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough.
All of these situations that to save. Yeah. Anyway, Iroh is the uncle's name. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Iroh, sorry. Yeah, I should know that. I watched it 4 years ago. And I watched this recently.
You did, and they said Iroh.
Yeah. You fight. There's this like probably the best scene in the series is where like it's about him and his son, and he sings this song or whatever. It's not in this. But I mean, Paul San Huang Lee, who's in like a bunch of stuff. He's in what's that show? Kim's Convenience. He's in Star Wars, Mandalorian. He's one of the pilots or whatever. He's amazing. Like they're really, really good. Anyway, when they got to the fish stuff, they're like, this fish is magic and it's from the moon.
No one loves the moon. Sure.
I was like, I hate this.
Oh, that's the next thing I was going to bring up.
Because of the M. Night stuff. But seeing this, I'm like, oh, this is a better version of that.
Yeah, because my next thought was...
He's a big smashy water monster.
But I mean, was what do you think the best action sequence in this show is? Is it I think it might be the part where the woman takes over Aang and can use all the
that's pretty
power,
cool.
And she fends off everybody.
I think it's somebody else. I think it's Roku. It's a Roku Fire Stick. No, it's a Roku. The previous Avatar, I think, in the animated is a fire guy.
Right.
I think. I don't remember. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
But I think that's probably the best action sequence. But then my next thought was, boy, it's short. It's like there's a lot of lore, and it feels like, to me, it really felt like those last couple of episodes. It really kind of I'm like, boy, this is a lot to take in a day.
Yeah, sure.
Like we've already done the fire bending and all the stuff and the
fishes,
the world building and all the background characters and all the trauma they've gone through and all this sort of stuff. And then it's like, yeah, but then the big fish, he's in love with the moon. They're in love, and then the moon goes away. They capture the moon, and then he's mad, and so
Aang takes on.
Then Aang can take and become like.
But he can't. Now he's that forever.
Godzilla, but then he's going to sacrifice. But it's all right because when that lady died, when she was going to die,
the woman from Prey,
they saved the fish, or the moon possibly saved her, and then the moon left some moon spirit in her, so she could sacrifice her life to become the moon again, and then the moon would be back, and then Aang wouldn't have to,
Yeah.
It's a lot.
The moon.
Yeah.
Don't worry about any of that, by the way.
Don't worry about it because it's done by the next season.
Yeah,
Great. Good.
You don't need to think about it.
I won't ever again.
Yeah. I like the weird face-stealing monster.
Sure.
That's a fun inclusion, isn't it? And I liked it when he'd visit the previous avatars.
Yeah,
They're fun.
Okay. Is that new to the series?
No.
Okay, right.
But I don't remember.
Okay.
So maybe.
Yeah.
But no?
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Because he is all the previous avatars.
Technically, yes. Or they're the same spirit.
Nice.
It's Doctor Who.
Sure.
It's Doctor Who rules.
Okay. So sometimes he can be
Doctor
a fire
Who
guy.
rules.
Sometimes he can be a dog guy or whatever.
He can be a dog guy.
That's great.
I mean, they all have to do all the avatar stuff and whatever.
Ugh.
So that's yuck.
Work.
Unless you have anything else to say, I got some reviews here from people who have written in.
You look, I
just watch the original.
Okay.
I think again, there is some. I found this like a pleasant watch.
Sure.
But it made me go, geez, there's some good ideas in this, isn't there? And I think there's some, again, really good performances in this.
Yeah, I did. Look, I reckon at the start of episode 1 or towards the start, I'm like,
Phantom Menace.
I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
I'm like, these characters. Initially, I'm like, these characters feel a little bit one-dimensional, but I think as I was forced to watch it because I had to, I'm like, okay, there's more. I'm gonna hate this soccer guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hate him, but I'm like, oh no, he's fun and funny, and
he's got a great
his
haircut.
dumbness, and he's exactly.
Yeah.
So I think I grew to like him, but again, is this going to get another season?
You
think it will?
I think it's going to do well.
Okay.
I think it's not.
But is it going to do well enough to satisfy the Netflix algorithm? I don't think anything can at this point.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And then, so at that point, why not? Like, what I'm getting from you is like, watch the original series because it's a complete epic, and then just watch this live action version as a sort of fun novelty.
Yeah, it's to be like, oh, that's different. That's how that guy.
This is how it would look as if it were real kind of thing.
I think that's a good way to look at this show. It's like, oh yeah, this is that other thing.
Let me ask you this: how does the action feel compared to the animated version?
I mean, the animated. Like it's
because I've only seen clips.
Yeah,
there's a clip that's being passed around. You know, the point where Aang gets on. He builds
the air bubble.
He builds a big air bubble and he spins around and he crashes into a thing. And that's often been shown side by side. Like, it doesn't quite work in live action.
No, that doesn't necessarily work the same. But I would say there's enough good stuff in here where they didn't botch it. But the animated stuff is incredible. There's so many and it just ramps up. Yeah. And there's so much stuff that you can do in animation because it's way cheaper. It's basically free.
It's free.
Yeah. You can do anything. You can think of anything and then you can just have someone draw it for you.
Yeah. Snap your fingers.
Yeah.
Do a big airball.
That's right. So, yeah. But again, just the show. I thought, look, the lesson here is obviously don't kick out the original creators also, which is what they did. They were on board for this. Same thing happened with the movie.
And they wrote some of it?
They wrote some of it, and then they went, this is a different direction, and they left or were kicked. I also wondered, was that just more of a to get kind of the fans on board? Did they really want their input?
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
You know, so...
But surely the PR damage from them quitting, they'd have to know.
Yeah. I mean, I think the way that you could have done this, if you look at the way that Invincible is being adapted into animation, and even animation, is that Robert Kirkman is heavily involved, and he's like, okay, well, that was that version, and now I'm going to take it in this direction.
Sure, yeah.
And he is the original creative voice, and obviously there's more people involved, but he's still the driving force behind it. It's the same with The Last of Us, like Neil Druckmann, and now he's got Craig Mazin or whatever, and they're reinterpreting what had been done before.
That's true.
Whereas this is not so much that, it turns out. But it was still great, and it's probably a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
This is by Qualified Goose. They sent us in. They said, just finished Last Airbender series and wondered how many times can Nickelodeon adapt this before they take the hint and work with the original creators. There you go. I rate this show 1 stolen line of dialogue from Man of Steel out of 5. Did you see that? It was like, can't we be friends? And he's yes. You're my mate, Man of Steel. Wesley Walker says, 1 episode into Avatar, Netflix, and it's obviously inferior to the animated show, but it's a lot better than the movie. The effects and pacing aren't the best, but they're better than people decided they'd be before it came out. It at least has some personality to it, so that means Netflix at least did a better job than Disney Plus did with Percy Jackson. Ooh. Is that good or not good?
That's a burn on a show I haven't seen.
Yeah, man, or read the books. Also, the director copied the Can I Pretend Your Son line from Man of Steel, which is really weird and it didn't fit at all.
You're always on. So that's not in the anime?
No, not to my knowledge. I mean, they're mates.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah. James Bailey says, these ones are from the Great Mates group, if you want to go over there. Don't be rude, though. I watched 1.5 episodes, and it's pretty rough to watch. Like, I'm finding this harder to watch than the Bebop live-action show. I never watched that. It was so unbelievably ugly is my main gripe. Truly the worst use of the volume I've ever seen, and the writing is just slop. Ooh, and Matthew Haddock says, well, I'm having fun. There's a weird amount of negativity about this show when I think it's perfectly fine, a fine, serviceable series. Nothing mind-blowing because I've seen it all before in the original show, but nothing offensively bad or awful.
I mean, to me, that feels like the quintessential review of an live-action adaptation of anything at this point.
Yeah.
The best you can say in a lot of instances
except for One Piece.
That was fun. That was fun. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that is the... For a lot of these, that's the best they can do. From the Disney live action remakes to these live action remakes, the best a lot of people can say is, well, it's pretty all right compared to it's all right. It's like the original, but it's not, and it's slop.
Yeah, and we'll cancel it.
Yep.
Yeah. I would like to see a second season. I would like to see what else can they do with this, And again, because I like all of the actors in this, really. Good on them. God bless them.
Yeah. Yeah. Good on Dr. Han.
Good on him.
The good doctor.
The good doctor. Oh, yeah. He's the big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was rude in this, wasn't he?
He was very rude.
I don't think he's supposed to do that.
I mean, it's rude.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst things you can be.
Agreed. Should we move it along?
Let's move it along.
What to?
What are we reading?
Yep.
What are we going to read?
Wow.